Hi guys, in the recent US election, there were two issues that impacted the result. Generally, how people were feeling about the economy and immigration. Now, of course, it isn't a simple copy and paste of such issues into a British or European context, but if Labour aren't seen to be dealing with asylum seekers being placed in local areas, the far-right and Reform UK may attempt to take advantage of both misinformation and anger. As we know, the Tories refused to process asylum claims, pretending that it worked as a deterrent. Now Labour are picking up the pieces, and anger over the issue is growing.
What would you like to see happen now?
I would like to, number one, I'd like to stop all this shouting at each other and sit down and the Home Office give us some answers. I've written twice to the Home Office. I sent an email to Yvette Cooper that just came back and said she doesn't answer questions unless you're a constituent. Please send it to this email address, which is wewillignoreyou.com. And I would like them to come up with some answers to say what assessments they've done to make sure the asylum seekers are safe and are processed fairly speedily, that the residents are safe, that there's safeguarding for the schools, 15 schools within walking distance of the hotel, the rationale for choosing that hotel, and not letting the police know, not letting the council know before, although I did look at a council meeting last night and the head of the council actually was informed on the 8th of October, but nobody else apparently knew until the night before they arrived.
Should local residents like Gwyneth Roper be consulted and told, or even the police and the council, about changes to hotels being closed and for housing asylum seekers?
Well, it appears that the council were informed, but what I'll say on this is I do sympathise with the last guest, and we have to be clear on why this is happening. In 2018, there was just 300 boat crossings. Since then, we've had over 140,000 with record backlogs in the Home Office and spending £8 million a day on 400 hotels. That was all what we inherited. It's only been a few months, but we have got a plan in place to combat this. We've set up the Border Security Command to take on the gangs. We've got more decision makers in the Home Office, which is really important because if we speed up the decisions, we don't need to use hotels.
Yeah, but I'm asking about consultation. Should people be consulted when these things happen in their area?
Well, I think in that I can't comment on that individual case because I don't know the full details, but it was said there that the council were informed.
Well, but they didn't inform. It was the first that local people actually heard. And Gwyneth Roper went on to say, she says, I want all the shouting to stop. And that's because people were left in the dark, as she said. Is that right?
I think that the Home Office priority is speeding up the processing, deporting those who shouldn't be here. We've had 3 record flights off the ground. We've deported 10,000 in just this short period of time. If we do that, then we won't need these hotels. So that's the main effort of the Home Office at the moment.
But you admit, you promised to close them and actually the number's gone up.
Well, look, we inherited 400 that were open. I mean, under Chris Phipps, there was just 25 when he went into the position. By the time he left, there was 150. That's a 500% increase. So, we won't take lectures from the Conservatives, for example, on this problem. This is what we've inherited and we're working hard to fix it, but it will take time.
See, there are a number of issues facing the Labour government here. First of all, they can't really consult with the locals over security issues. Remember the riots. Remember what happened over the summer, where the far right tried to burn people out of their accommodation. So probably for security reasons, they can't consult with the locals. Now, I don't think that's a completely justified position, but there are other factors as well. So, for example, the cost of alternative accommodation. So the cost involved in refurbishing ex-military bases that were not designed to hold asylum seekers in the first place is extremely expensive. So it's cheaper to put people into hotels or convert hotels into asylum accommodation than to try and rebuild or reconstruct or refit military bases. So it's, the government are constantly attacked, over the cost of this. So they're saying, look, what we're going to do is choose a cheaper alternative. But also dealing with the backlog will bring these numbers down. So it's probably a case of let's get people into these hotels, process the claims as soon as possible, and then get them out. So it's a stopgap. As long as it doesn't become something long-term or permanent, that is all down to processing the claims. So if they're able to do that, then this issue will become less of a problem. But you can also point to the fact that you can't really consult locals because they will say no. What local organization will welcome asylum seekers? Many people welcome asylum seekers, but when it comes to housing people in local hotels that have been closed down, most residents will say no to that. So the government will be stuck with people that they can't put into accommodation. So it's understandable that they want to consult the locals, but if the locals are going to say no on every occasion, or pretty much every occasion, then you're stuck. And moving people in without consultation of the locals is going to attract the attention of the far right. So if you meet with locals beforehand and they say no, then who's going to jump on that? Well, Reform UK and the far right. If you say yes, then they'll probably picket any entrance to bringing asylum seekers in anyway. So you'd be damned if you do and damned if you don't. But if Labour are not able to grasp this, if they're not able to bring down the asylum claim backlog and do it soon, this is going to fuel the far right and Reform UK. Because it's very easy for them to sit on the sidelines and say, what we would do is just deport everyone, or we would stop the use of these hotels, or we would stop the boats. So Labour have two issues when it comes to immigration and asylum. They need to deal with the boats on the surface level, but they really need to deal with when it comes the issue of hotels and people being moved in, because that's something that ordinary people see in their community. You know, if Labour are not really dealing with the boats, that's not really going to impact many voters. But if they see hotels being converted into asylum seeker accommodation and young men being moved in, then it's going to fuel anger, unfortunately. And it's going to create massive problems for the Labour government going forward. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.